You ever read something that makes you do a kind of cartoonish double take, yeah? Well, that was me this morning, right? I stumbled on a wild crypto prediction, like Chainlink to $400 and XRP to $9 by the end of 2025. And get this, right? Some people think that Chainlink could even leapfrog XRP in the rankings. Now, my first thought was, nah, this has to be a joke, but curiosity kind of killed the cat. Or, in this particular case, dragged this cat, that's me, down a deep crypto rabbit hole. And what I found, well, let's just say, you're going to want to kind of hear it and you want to stick around for it. So, the culprit behind all of this kind of bold predictions is the kind of analyst who goes by 𝗗𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗃, right? Now, this guy who founded something called the XDAO basically went on record saying that Chainlink could hit between $250 and $400 by Q4 of 2025, and XRP could reach around $8.50 to $9 in that rather same time frame. Now, if you're doing a double take like I did, then no, right? You didn't mishear anything, right? He's actually talking about Chainlink, the token that's currently chilling around 25 bucks or so, possibly doing a 10x or more, and XRP, the one that's been kind of stuck in the low single digits for a while, may finally actually be heading towards double digits. It sounds like crypto fan fiction, right? But that's what I thought too, right? But here is the kind of thing. Once I kind of dug into why he thinks this, could actually happen, I went from rolling my eyes to raising an eyebrow, right? There's actually a story here with rivalry, drama, and some hard numbers. So stick around, because by the end of this story in this video, you might actually just might not dismiss it so quickly next time. Now, by the way, right, our free educational Discord server is buzzing, about this topic as we kind of speak. Feel free to join. The link is in the description. So kind of swap theories and maybe even a few memes while you're at it. Anyway, let's kind of rewind just a little bit here. Let me set the scene, right? I'm on Discord this morning, coffee in one hand, probably procrastinating some kind of real work, right? Suddenly, one of the regular pings me up like, yo, have you seen 𝗗𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗃's latest prediction thread? I almost kind of spit out my coffee, right? The name 𝗗𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗃 rang a bell. He's known for bold calls, but the numbers were, well, what got me? Chainlink to $400, right? XRP to $9. And I honestly kind of checked the date to make sure that I wasn't, some kind of April Fool's joke. And it wasn't. So naturally, I had to investigate, right? So I pulled up the actual post and the article summarizing it. And as I'm reading, I kind of realized that this isn't just about two random numbers. It's about a brewing rivalry in crypto land that I haven't paid enough attention to. See, there's been this kind of undercurrent of chatter about XRP versus Chainlink, kind of like a my coin can beat up your coin kind of situation. And I know usually those kind of rivalries are between like Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum, or Dogecoin and Shiba Inu for meme supremacy, but XRP and Chainlink, well, that one's kind of new, right? At least to me. And it turns out that a lot of people are speculating that Chainlink might overtake XRP in market cap one day. They even have a word for it when it comes to one coin overtaking another. They call it the flippening. Now, I swear crypto folks just love their dramatic terms. Now, the data points fueling this talk are actually pretty interesting. For one, Google Trends show that recently more people have been searching for Chainlink than they have for XRP. Just imagine that. The supposedly boring Oracle token is actually out-Googling one of the most popular digital assets on the planet. It's kind of like the kind of quiet kid in class suddenly getting more Instagram followers than the school quarterback. Kind of surprising. Then there's the DeFi angle. Chainlink isn't just a token after all, right? It's actually basically the plumbing that connects real-world data to blockchains, smart contracts, right? And right now, Chainlink's tech is securing over $93 billion in total value in DeFi, while XRP's DeFi usage is around $85 million. So billion versus million. Yeah, you heard that right. Now that's kind of like comparing Fort Knox to a piggy bank. Okay, maybe that's a little slight exaggeration, but seriously, right, $93 billion versus $85 million is a huge gap. No wonder some people are saying that Chainlink has the momentum. Now, all of this kind of set the stage for 𝗗𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗃's prediction then. So let's start with Chainlink's path to $400. Now at the time of the forecast, Chainlink was hovering around $25 or so. So $400 is, the high end of a range that he gave, $250 to $400. But even $250 would be a kind of tenfold increase. At $400, we're talking about a 16x in growth. Now, if you put $1,000 into Link and it did 16x, well, you can do the math. The crazy part is that if Chainlink hits somewhere in the ballpark, its kind of market capitalization would balloon to roughly $271 billion. So for context, that would be about $100 billion more than some of these other assets that we kind of talk about. Now, 𝗗𝗀𝗀 kind of made the prediction interesting when it comes to kind of XRP, with XRP's market cap, a little bit short of the $200 billion at the moment. So effectively, what he's suggesting is that Chainlink could leapfrog XRP by, a sizable margin. Now, I can practically hear the cheers and the cries. Chainlink holders would likely be screaming, "Flippening, baby," from the rooftops, while the XRP loyalists might either dismiss it or just have a minor heart attack. Now, let me kind of tell you this. When I read that, even as someone who kind of holds a little bit of Link and, a little bit of XRP, I was a little bit skeptical, right? 16x is a tall order for any kind of large cap crypto in just over a year. So it's kind of like predicting your kind of mild-mannered neighbor will become a Hollywood superstar by the next summer. Could happen, sure. Theoretically, likely depends on a lot of luck and the montage sequence. But here's the flip side, right? I've been in crypto long enough to see some pretty absurd predictions actually come true in bull markets. I remember people laughing at Ethereum predictions in 2016, and then ETH hit levels that people thought were impossible. So I'm giving this very ambitious but not entirely impossible stamp, of approval, essentially. Or at least especially I should say, because Chainlink has a pretty clear use case and dominance in its niche, at least for a full-blown, or at least full-on, blown crypto market or bull run that ignites every kind of big player and they will pile on in. Who knows, right? Chainlink could catch a massive updraft, right? So now, what about XRP? Because 𝗗𝗀𝗀𝗀 didn't, leave our old friend XRP out of the party either. Now, his prediction for XRP was a prediction price between $8.50 and $9 by late 2025. Now, as compared to Chainlink's 16x potential gain, XRP's target is kind of more like a 3x from where it is right now, around kind of $2.89 at the point of recording. Now, on the surface, you might think, hey, why is XRP getting the short end of the stick with only a triple, while Link kind of gets a 10x plus? Well, you've got to consider this. XRP is already a giant in terms of market cap. At roughly $2.89, XRP was valued at around $170 billion. So if XRP hits $9, well, we're talking about, being over $534 billion in market cap. So yes, that's over $1 trillion. To put that into perspective, that's kind of like XRP being worth more than 2 Visas or about 1.5 Teslas, if you're kind of comparing stock market caps, that is. Now, if you would still be kind of nearly twice Chainlink's size, even in kind of 𝗗𝗀𝗀𝗀's own scenario. So XRP, by virtue of already kind of being huge, doesn't necessarily need to 10x to break records. Even a 3x would set all-time highs and then some. Now, I have a confession to make. $9 XRP actually sounds almost tame if you're ever kind of wandered into the kind of wilder corners of the XRP community on Twitter. There are some people out there who, with their kind of ultra bullish estimates, put XRP $20, $50 or even $99 per XRP. Seriously, I've seen those numbers tossed around, and those tend to come with grand narratives like all the money in the world flowing through XRP, or secret scenarios of banks suddenly, using XRP for every transaction. Well, ever. Now, it's kind of heavy stuff, and in that kind of context, 𝗗𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀's $9 prediction is almost conservative, like his, the responsible adult in the room full of moon landing theorists. And, honestly, a 3x and a large cap after a year's time, still nothing to sneeze at, right? Now, that would likely make XRP one of the best performing big cryptos in the space, period. It's like if someone told you the, blue chip stock might triple, most people would probably be over the moon. But in crypto, we're desensitized to it, and it takes something like a 10x prediction to really sound exciting. It's crazy, the space that we're in. So what could drive XRP to that $8 to $9 range then. There are actually a couple of, catalysts, right, 𝗗𝗀𝗃 and others are pointing to here. First is the regulatory clouds, that have finally lifted. The big bad SEC lawsuit is now over. And, that did keep XRP basically in limbo for a while. Now, Ripple, has been, basically battling, and they have won, which is great to see. It was a huge win. And now, building on that, there's chatter about the likely approval of the XRP ETFs as soon as Q4 2025. And if an XRP ETF gets greenlit, that means big institutional investors, the kind who manage your pension or your college endowment, could more easily buy into XRP. Just look what happened when the first Bitcoin ETF rumors and approvals hit. Bitcoin's price got a jolt. People are thinking an XRP ETF could actually be similar green light for the price surge. The second thing is that Ripple's partnerships, right? Ripple has, been busy signing deals with financial institutions, banks, payment providers, you name it. The idea is that XRP could become part of the plumbing for the international money transfers market, kind of like faster, cheaper SWIFT system. Now, each new partnership announcement tends to get the XRP community excited, sometimes a little too excited. But the cumulative kind of effect is that XRP's utility and network keep on growing quietly. So by 2025 or late 2025, if those partnerships translate into real usage of XRP for cross-border flows, that could boost demand and, by extension, the price. Now, at this point in my research, I'm feeling a little mix of excitement and deja vu. I'm excited because, let's face it, who wouldn't be happy to see their assets shoot up like that? Deja vu because I've seen massive predictions come and go in crypto many times. It's kind of like a reoccurring cycle. Bold claims, hype, a reality check, repeat. And you know what? This is probably a good time for me to step back and drop a reality check before anyone watching gets too carried away. And I need to make sure that something is absolutely clear here. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. It's important that you do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Now, neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video today is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, so we had to say that, we had to get it out of the way, both for your sake and for mine. Now let's get back to the fun stuff then, because believe it or not, right, 𝗗𝗃𝗃𝗃 didn't stop at XRP and Chainlink, no. He basically gave his crystal ball to at least a bit of a workout, and he dished out targets for the whole entire Crypto Avengers team, right? Let's run through those at least rapid fire, right? Bitcoin, 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 believes Bitcoin could reach up to $230,000 by December of this year. Yes, that's $250,000 for a single Bitcoin. Mind you, Bitcoin's recent peak was around 124,000. So he's talking about nearly doubling from where it is today, or has been. Now, if you hang around crypto circles, 200k Bitcoin predictions are almost cliche at this point. Many analysts and influencers have year-end targets in the six-figure range. It's kind of bullish, but not outlandishly beyond what others are saying. Still, imagining the market euphoria if Bitcoin breaks $124,000. It could be pretty insane. Now, also, here's a side note. If Bitcoin does anything close to $230,000, you can bet that altcoins like XRP and Chainlink are probably going to do very well themselves, perhaps landing, some credence, I should say, to these predictions across the board. Ethereum's target is $9,000 to $12,000. Again, ETH is currently in that kind of $4,000 range as we speak. So we're looking at roughly 2 to 3x on Ethereum. Not too bad there either. And then, we've got some interesting other stuff that he has spoken about in the past as well. But, for the most part, it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. So 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, basically in line with kind of big names and other analysts on Ethereum. And honestly, if the crypto market goes wild, seeing ETH between 9 to 12 grand wouldn't shock me either, right? Specifically because it's DeFi and NFT ecosystems behind it and all that kind of good stuff. What about Binance Coin, right? BNB, targeting, according to 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, $2,800 to $3,000. Now, this one is interesting. BNB is around $850 now, so 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 expects roughly a 4x. BNB's fate is so tied to Binance and its ecosystem. So over the past year or two, Binance has faced some industry kind of regulatory crackdowns and all that kind of stuff. So BNB's very interesting kind of price potential there from Fencer as well. Solana, he's predicting $900. You know, at the moment it's about $184. So let's hope that the Solana team can keep the lights on so that, you know, we can actually see some progression there as well. And so he's got a lot of numbers, right? Got all these numbers, they're kind of all out there. And, you know, it's a lot of kind of digesting going on there, right? I had to go back to my chair just after imagining what if, you know, Rect Fencer is even half right with all of this stuff. Even if we only meet in the middle of some of these targets and predictions, then the crypto market is significantly higher than where it is today. So there's a lot to kind of unpack and a lot to kind of deal with when it comes to, you know, all of these things going on. But let's temper this with a little bit of common sense, right? Because not every prediction will hit the bullseye, right? In 2017, I remember hearing Bitcoin 100K by 2018. It only hit $20,000 and then it crashed, right? In 2021, you know, some people kind of thought XRP would go to $10 in that cycle. It barely touched $3. So that kind of spring then kind of retreated, right? Retreated. Markets can and will surprise all of us, both in the upside and to the downside. So personally, if you ask me, you know, do you believe that these exact numbers? I would say I believe that there's a direction which is bullish more than the precise targets, right? Chainlink beating XRP in the market cap, it's possible, especially if Chainlink's role in DeFi keeps exploding and XRP kind of just stalls out, right? But if XRP hits $9 and, you know, Chainlink hits, let's say, $400, well, it doesn't flip XRP in that scenario. So it's an interesting one. We've got to be keeping an eye on all those ETFs as well, the Ripple banking integrations, the licenses, all that kind of stuff. If Bitcoin does go to 230, Ethereum to 10K, you know, it's going to be an interesting time. Now, either way, the story of XRP versus Chainlink is now on my radar. It's almost like, you know, watching two athletes training for an Olympics showdown. XRP is the seasoned pro, a little bit bruised from the past battles, but experienced and with massive fan base in its corner. Chainlink is the rising star, not as flashy on the surface, but quietly indispensable and gaining momentum when nobody was looking. If Chainlink does flip XRP's market cap, it would be symbolic, a changing of the kind of guard among the top cryptos. But even if it doesn't, both assets could end up way up more valuable than they are today. And if you subscribe to kind of Fencer's kind of vision here, you know, that's what you're looking at. Now, here's one more thing, right? I know that some of you are probably thinking of making some moves. Should I buy a Link now? Should I stack more XRP? That's totally up to you, right? I'm not here to give you financial advice. Remember the disclaimer earlier. But I will share what I am doing. I'm holding what I have and I'm staying tuned. I'm not betting the farm on any single prediction, but I am positioning in some, or I have positions in some of these coins because I believe in their long-term potential. If you decide to invest or to trade based on any of this thesis, bullish or bearish, please do it safely. Use reliable platforms and never invest more than you can afford to lose. Oldest rule in the book and still true. Now, speaking of platforms, if you're looking for a solid place to trade and accumulate these assets, I personally use Blowfin. Now, I like it for its robust features and security. I have an affiliate link in the description down below for Blowfin. Using it, of course, supports the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. Whether you use that or not, make sure that you're using a reputable exchange, especially if we really are heading into a big bull run. That's when all sorts of sketchy platforms come out of the woodwork. So, as we kind of think about wrapping all of this up, whatever happens, I'm glad that I went down this rabbit hole, right? Because now I'm going to be watching XRP versus Chainlink drama with popcorn in hand. And you can bet that I'm going to keep you all updated on how reality really measures up to these predictions. If Chainlink even gets close to $250 or XRP starts pushing $5, you know that people are going to be losing their minds. So it's probably time for you guys to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you all in the next one.